UFO AZ, and today I've got Alex Collier with us. Thanks a lot for showing up, Alex. Can you give the viewers a little bit of a background of what you do before you got into the UFO phenomenon? What you did?
Actually, it really started in 1964. I was just a kid. Wasn't really doing anything. I had an experience in '64, my first. There was another one when I was age 14. And from 1985, consistently on, the contacts have been quite regular. Prior to 1985, I was working with the Department of the Treasury, Internal Revenue. When I left there, I started my own tax practice. I moved to Malibu, and that's kind of when things just changed. And contacts became quite regular. A lot of sightings, a lot of information, and it's really hard to describe a major shift like that in consciousness and in one's life. But that's exactly what happened, and it really started in '85, and it changed even more when I met Liberty.
Okay, now in 1985, when these things started happening, how did you feel? Did you feel, why me? What's going on? Am I going crazy?
No, it wasn't like that at all. It was more, I was more in awe, I think. I think each one of us at one level knows that there is definitely more. And when you're confronted with it face to face, I think the initial awakening can be quite a shock. But after that, depending upon, I think, how you're treated. If it had been a gray type of situation where they come in and they poke holes in you and they do all these radical experiments on you as if you were a lab animal, I think it would have been a different situation for me entirely.
Well, I'm going to stop you there because I don't like putting all the grays in one basket. I don't think all the grays are bad. I've talked to experiencers in the past that have personal experience with grays that are very loving, very caring, very concerned about humans. On the other hand, I've talked to other experiencers that have showed great concern because they are being treated just like lab animals. So I don't want to mix all of the grays in one basket any more than I think that we want to mix all the humans in one basket. That's unfair to say.
Okay, well, my experience has been, based on my contacts with a group from Andromeda, that there are a group of Zeta Reticulis here that are called the Greys. They are renegade. There are also Zeta Reticulans here from Zeta Reticuli. So there are really two groups. The two groups, one group, which is from Zeta Reticuli, that is working with the Andromedan Council, is very benevolent. They are doing similar experiments, but they are loving and they are caring. On the other hand, their reason for coming here, one of the reasons for coming here is to try to help balance the negativity that's being created by a renegade group from their own star system. So,
well, that's good. I'm glad we got
they're
that
not to be
preference.
confused, but they are being confused.
Yes.
Quite dramatically, unfortunately.
Well, I think once a person comes in contact with something as strange, a strange being like that, that it's very easily to be confused about that and put them all in a bag. When you get a traumatic experience and say, for instance, an orangutan walked in, you would say, you wouldn't form it as an orangutan, you'd probably form it as a monkey and put them all in one basket. So I just wanted to preface that right off the bat because I do know that there are a particular type of gray alien that is a more of a benevolent being.
Okay, well I can go in more in depth on that. I've had the opportunity and the blessing to actually, ask them real specific questions about specific things. It's just like, no matter where you go in the universe, there's positive and there's the negative polarity. The Pleiadian is another example. For thousands of years, we had a group under the Pyramid of Giza and other places on the planet, and they called themselves Giza Intelligence. They were propagating and doing many things that were harmful to our belief systems. And another group of Pleiadians from the Seven Sisters came here to try to balance that negativity which a part of their own race is creating. So, the benevolent races that are out there are returning to Earth because they have a sense of responsibility. And as it's been explained to me in quite detail, for the last 5,723 years, mankind has been manipulated on the most subtlest of levels to become the warriors that we are today.
For what purpose?
For control. Literally for control. That specific extraterrestrial races, renegade if you want to call them that, this is what the Andromedans call them, they call them renegade, have come here. They wanted to play God, literally play God. And here is a society where they had a perfect opportunity to do it. And as long as we war against each other, as long as we do not respect each other and treat each other with this animalistic behavior which we have been taught to do, then they continue to remain in charge. They play a chess game with us on our planet.
Now these Andromedas that you spoke about, do you get these, do you meet these physically? Do you
Yes.
Physically, they're
Yes.
in front of you. Are they a physical form? Can you feel them, touch
Yes,
them?
they're third, fourth, and fifth. They have the ability to move in and out.
Third, fourth, and fifth dimension.
Density, yes. When I meet them, yes, they are in physical. When I'm receiving from them telepathically or clairaudiently, then I see them in my head. It's like they're standing in my head. They're of course not physical. They're fourth density. So yes, it's both on both levels.
Was this experience your first experience of some clairaudiency? Did you think you were going crazy hearing things in your head?
No, they told me with my first experience at 8 years old, which I was given a command to not remember, that I would be given this gift, that they would always be close to me. When I was 14, I had another physical contact, and they took me on board, and they told me that I would go through many changes in my life, but they were always close by and not to feel forsaken. And they really stressed that. And they were absolutely right. My life went through incredible changes.
Do these beings look like humans in a form?
Most of them do. There are others that are just purely etheric. One of them that meets the majority of virtually all the time that I go on board in the physical, there are 11 beings that I sit with or talk with. They don't exactly, two and predominantly talk to me. One is about 4'11", 5 foot tall, light blue skin. His name is Phaseus. And the other is a very tall, 7.5 to 8 foot, snow white being with no hair, and his name is Morane. And they predominantly talk to me. Now, when they talk to each other, right here at this point of their head, color flash when they talk to each other. And, I don't understand what they're saying until one of the two turns to me and asks me a question or gives me information, relates information, or answers my question.
Do you have the ability to recall everything that they hear, or do you have to write it down?
From age 14, I have been able to recall.
Very, very good. So do you have the ability also to call them?
Yes.
Is there?
I don't always get an instant answer. Sometimes I'll put it up there, and it could be minutes, it can be days, it could be a week before I actually get a response to my question.
Is it a form of meditation that you put it up there, or is it just a thought, a quiet moment?
It's a quiet moment and it's a thought, but I direct it directly to them.
Okay.
And I was
Go ahead.
given a symbol, and that's what I use when I send it to them.
Okay. Are they within our atmosphere now, or are they in orbit, or are they out deeper in space?
They are definitely in our solar system. They have many craft in fourth dimension, invisible to us, around our atmosphere, observing and recording. They have many large motherships that are, from what I understand, hidden behind planets inside our solar system. They're waiting. Their message, Ted, is very interesting, and it's something that I hope we can get into.
Well, we will.
So I don't want to take control of your show.
I won't let you. That's all right.
I didn't mean it in that sense.
No, that's right.
They're here because we are, in the next 8 years, they say, reaching a very critical point in consciousness.
I just try to lay down the background and kind of basis for the viewers to be able to stay with us on this, because I've read your bio and I know some of the things. I heard your talk, but the viewing audience hasn't, and so I'm trying to guess what they'd be asking.
Okay.
It seems like a great responsibility to be able to do this. Have they told you why you are chosen to bring this to the world, to bring this information to the people?
I'm not the only one.
Okay.
They have said that there are 4 all across the planet that they are in contact with. They have said that the reason they are doing this, and there may be more, I don't know, but currently there are 4, is because they have come to the conclusion, the Andromedan Council, which is made up of 129 different star groups or races, that the United States government no longer represents all the people. Therefore, they are, as of right now, as we speak, developing entirely new lines of communication with the Earth, the people here, with humanity.
It seems like that 4 people, and I don't know, we have 3 billion or 10 billion, I don't really know how many people we have on Earth here, but it would seem like you got a heck of a job ahead of you.
As of right now, yeah, there are times it's quite overwhelming. And there are times like I just don't want to do it, or I run some fear on it. To be quite honest, I have been prolonging coming out with the information for a few years, and I honestly would not be here talking to you if it weren't for the support of Liberty.
Yeah, because you called, we talked, and I didn't even know you were an experiencer, and all of a sudden the next talk that you through our conversation, I found that you had spoken in a couple places, and I applaud that. People need to get the message, and if mainstream media isn't giving it, at least we're being able to provide that through this type of a vehicle. And through people like yourself, being able to take the time to co-produce it, bring it to the studios, and make the effort so that other people around the country can finally view what is actually going on. So I hope through this tape that more people can and will probably give you the encouragement to keep going. I know that sometimes we feel that we're just banging our head against the wall and not going anywhere, and it takes people to come up and say, hey, I viewed your show, I live in Pittsburgh, and I say, well, how did you get the show? And somebody says, I don't know, they mailed me a tape and I really love it. And I say, well, thank you very much, and that's why I do this, that's why I do it. Well, let's get into,
service.
Let's get into a little bit of why they even want the Andromedas, why they're even taking their time to help us.
Okay, good question. Essentially what has occurred here is this, and I'll give you just a little bit of history as to why the Andromedans are here. Basically, the Andromedans feel that we as a race, human race here, have not had the opportunity to genuinely use our own free will because of subtle manipulations by other extraterrestrial influences here. Originally, what was to occur was that the Pleiadians were to come in and were to try to straighten out this mess, because the majority of us are of Pleiadian heritage. In fact, they have said, the Andromedans, that there have been 22 races that originally colonized the Earth. The first being a group of reptilians from Alfa Draconianos. Now, and human and many other different types of life forms, etc. They have said for the last 5,700 years that we have been manipulated, and our belief systems have been formulated and projected for control of us. Therefore, we are not exercising spiritual truths because they've all been hidden from us, literally taken away, or blinded, or misconstrued, or adding extra definitions and words here and there to totally misalign us with what is truth.
The government says that's line item vetoing, you know.
Yes, well,
Go ahead.
apparently they're way in over their heads at this point. So what happened was the Pleiadians were originally supposed to get more involved. What has happened, though, is that the Andromedans are not that pleased with the Pleiadians' efforts to really try to set things straight. And it is not that the Pleiadians aren't trying, it's just that what has happened is that they, as a race, have had many civil wars and have been very much in the warrior space that we are now, especially with each other. And that they have just now made their leap away from that into spiritualness, to a higher vibration, an evolution. They're truly evolving on a spiritual level.
One of the races?
The Pleiadian race as a whole.
The entire race, the entire
Yes,
group of them. Even the bad ones that were here under the pyramid.
Yes, well, no, not them. They haven't, that's why they're here. Okay, they've made the leap. Now what's happened is when they come back here to Earth and they look at us, it is like their past comes face to face with them. And their attitude is, or their feeling is, well, you know, if we get involved in here again, we may have to become warrior-like again. So they are very hesitant about getting involved again here on Earth, outside of just some contacts. Well, the Andromedans are looking at this and saying, but this is not helping. So apparently, on some level, the torch has been passed to the Andromedans. The Andromedans are now coming back. They're here, okay, along with other groups of extraterrestrial races who have been involved with Earth at one time or another. And they are going to set things straight. They say we have a window of about 8 years. Now, here's the situation. We have a group of renegade Greys here who are creating some real devastating atrocities. They're creating a lot of fear. They're doing genetic experiments which were not authorized. The Earth was supposed to be quarantined. They've totally violated that. So have the Gizé intelligence. My understanding is, or there's been some talk about the Pleiadians having gotten removed Gizé intelligence. The Andromedans have said there are still a few of them here, hiding. So, what has happened is they're doing some things. The Greys, the renegade Greys, not the benevolent, okay, there are definitely two groups, are creating atrocities, and they have totally manipulated many of the superpower governments into a position of checkmate, where they can literally do nothing about the fact that they're here, that we're helping them, that the government's helping them. In other words, we can't remove them. Their technology is so superior to ours that we can't remove them. Okay, we need an outside intervention to literally help us remove them. Okay. They're doing hybridization and many other things. Also, underneath the Earth, there are a group of reptilians from Alfa Draconianos. The Andromedans want me to relate to everyone that they are not benevolent, that they are in fact quite dangerous to us. And this is another reason why they're here.
Once again, let me ask you, break in. Could the reptilians, could they also have subgroups, subspecies, that some could be benevolent?
Yes, but none of them are on the planet currently.
Okay.
The ones that are here, that are living between 100 and 200 miles beneath the Earth, are quite dangerous.
When you start to, for lack of a better word, get a transmission or being contacted by them, is there any special feeling or sensation that you receive from this? Is there a beeping in your ear? Do your hands tingle?
No, I don't have implants. Generally what happens is I'll get like a fishbowl over my head.
Effect?
Yes. Like I have a helmet on and I'm talking inside the helmet, but it's inside my head.
Oh, okay. You don't go get a fishbowl?
No, not literally, no.
Okay, well, I want to clear that up because if I know that some of them will he gets a fishbowl, and we'll have 10 people walking into the store with fishbowls.
It's like an etheric energy field that surrounds my head.
Okay. No, I didn't know. I didn't say you had an implant. I didn't even mean to imply.
Well, the beeping, many people hear that, and they associate that with implants.
Well, yeah.
I'm trying to cover all the bases, too.
That's fine, but Myers heard and had strange tingling sensation when they were being contacted, and he walked outside. Bill Herman had the same type of a thing, heard a clicking, and same thing with Amori Rivera that took some of those excellent photographs in Puerto Rico. He was sobbing and crying, and he picked up the camera when he heard this beep and looked up and just shot, and then he heard another beep and just shot, and took these pictures. So I was wondering how you had these originated these communications. And when they come, do they come in English? Do they come in very clear English?
Yes, they do. Sometimes I will hear them when they're transmitting to me, and there's conversation amongst themselves on some level. Sometimes I will hear them speak in their own language.
Okay, now, do you take time if you're driving a car to pull off to the side?
I have been known to do that, yes.
Okay. It could get pretty irritating, couldn't it, in the sense that you might be right in the middle of something, then all of a sudden this come over and you have to utilize the concentration to...
They actually only do that when it's something that's, that they feel is really important. Most of the time they are very respectful of my space. And if I tell them I do not, I don't want anybody inside my head, they respect that. I have full abilities and full range to use my own, to exercise my own free will. And they do not violate that. Unless they feel it's something of really extreme importance that I need to know right away.
Are the Andromedas a race that is very old?
Yes, they're ancient. They say they originally come from Lyra as well, the human part of them. And they say that on the low scale of their civilization, or the ones that I'm in contact with, that they are approximately anywhere from 47 to 5,100 years more advanced than us spiritually. Technologically, from what I have seen, they're like, I can't even tell you, they're out there. We're building blocks. What we have are building blocks.
What did they tell you to, how are you supposed to disseminate this information?
Essentially, they just want me to put it all together and to just put it out there, to just throw it all up in the air and let people take what it is they want. They have said that there will be many people who will be very resistant to the information, but to just go out there and put some cracks in their armor, more or less. Just to put it out there, that everybody, that they understand that everybody wants to deal with love and light, but a lot of people don't want to look at the reality that there is also another part to this. Why is the world in such a mess that it is? There are real specific reasons behind it because of manipulation of other races. And this cannot be ignored because in the next 8 years they have said all that has been hidden will be revealed. And people need to be prepared to deal with that truth.
So this 8 years has just begun then? Basically.
Yes. That's our window to make this leap, for us to make the decision to make the leap. Otherwise, there's going to be some real dramatic changes here.
Are they going to give you any more help with anybody else? That you could contact a lot more people with a lot more people.
I understand that.
And you can make a more convincing argument when you have 3 or 4 people saying the same thing around one country, around a situation in a country. Then there's a line of truth that runs through every aspect of it, and which would take a skeptic and say, well, this one and this one and this one and this one, there's got to be something to it, other than just one person standing up and saying it.
Well, it's
I mean, you have a hell of a burden.
I'm not looking at it quite like that yet, but we have met somebody here who is from Peru, who has a friend who is in contact with Andromedans, and they're telling him the exact same thing.
Cool.
So we're going to try to connect and share information with that person, his contact down in Peru. There's also another person who is lecturing here who has done an extensive study on contacts and abductees, and her name is Dr. Carla Turner. And she's saying a lot of the same information that the Andromedans are saying, that there is an incredible amount of disinformation that's out there, and you know, the government is knee-deep in it, or I should say the world, the club, those special elite groups from all over the world in respective governments and banking circles, those that want to control the world, literally, to play God. This club is definitely a part of it, because they do not have control over what's going on now, but they are trying to put out the information so that they can remain in control with us. It's a very
kind of like starting backfires.
Exactly
so that they
right.
burn themselves
Right.
out right in the middle of it.
Right. Create enough confusion that nobody knows what's going on.
Okay, so let's take this in another direction. With your contacts that are going on, what else have they told you?
Okay.
Have they told you future events?
Yes, they have. Probable future events. Let me just tell you basically what they've told me up to date as far as the political situation on our planet today. We do have a joint United States-Soviet-British military base on the dark side of the moon. There are currently 135,000 human beings from Earth living there. Majority of those volunteer. There is also a colony on Mars, which is called Adam and Eve. The dome structures that are on top of the planet are called Adam. The underground facilities are called Eve. Communication March of 1989 between Adam and Eve on Mars and the lunar base, dark side of the moon, ceased. Communication stopped. Now, many of the people that are on Mars are considered to be some of our top minds. And this, in my opinion, is why there is the brain drain, the people just disappearing. They have also said that many of the people up there were drafted and were kidnapped. They didn't have a choice.
How'd they get there?
They took them from Earth to special facilities on the Earth, and then from there took them to the moon, and then from the moon they were processed and then taken to Mars to be a workforce. Now, I can answer that. Essentially what it is a group within the government,
Okay.
not necessarily representing the government in any way, but a group that is a part of the government, ultra secret, etc.
No such agency.
Right. They are building technology that the Greys have given them, and from other UFOs that have crashed or they've retrieved. This has been going on since 1947. I know that we were, many of our scientists and engineers were given things in the 30s. The Nazis, the German, the Third Reich was given information. Well, they've compiled all this technology, and now they're building these craft. They're not as superior or as good as, say, the Greys or the Andromedans or the Pleiadians. However, what this elect group has done is they've been able to find certain anti-gravity anomalies on the Earth, where the atmosphere will dip or fluctuate. And what they've done is they've taken special areas, and they have a way of putting specific equipment where these anomalies are going to occur. One of the most regular places on the planet, or actually there's two, has been the Bermuda Triangle and Diego Garcia Island in the Indian Ocean. Now there's a huge underground complex there. And apparently what they do is they put all this equipment here, they wait for this anomaly, it opens up, whatever's inside that anomaly, when it touches the Earth, when the anomaly snaps back, It takes whatever's in that area and just blows it up into space. Once it's in the atmosphere, craft from the moon, which we have built with our technology, these groups have built, comes, pick it up, puts a chain or a rope around it, hooks up to it, and then they haul it to the moon. This is how they've built everything that's on the moon. And then from there, they went to Mars.
So we have no vehicles that that are land-based operated that can fly to the moon?
Yes, we do. We have Aurora that can do it. But it can't haul all the equipment, the big equipment for mining and drilling that the Apollo astronauts have taken pictures of on the moon.
And that got there by this...
By these anti-gravity anomalies that occur all over the Earth.
Okay, you said that the people on Mars lost...
Communication.
Communication. Why don't they just go to Mars, pick them up, and fly to Mars and go over there and find out what they want and come back? I mean, communication is one thing, picking up a phone and having it cut, but you can still walk to your neighbor's house and talk to them. Okay.
I mean, why doesn't who? Those on the moon?
Yeah, those on the moon or those on the Earth go from the Earth, get flung up there, go to the moon, take a taxi over to Mars.
Because apparently there's another force that has landed on Mars.
Ah.
There is another presence in the atmosphere, in our solar system. And it is a very large contingency group from Alfa Draconians.
See, you didn't mention that in your lecture yesterday. I was wondering.
No, I held that back because...
you were saving it for this show.
Well, I was saving it for the show, and actually Liberty was, why didn't you say it? Why didn't you, put it all out there? And, I run an element of fear about that because I don't want to create all of this fear, Well, but, I mean, the truth is still the truth.
I just didn't know how that fit. There was a part there that I didn't see. They lost communication, I could understand, but they still could go from the moon to Mars. Why don't they just take a shuttlecraft and go over there? Is that the reason why we can't see the Hubble space? I mean, not the Hubble, but our Mars probe.
From the Andromedans, the Draconians were the ones who shot down the Russian probe, and I do not know as of today whether or not they have shot down the United States Mars probe. But my understanding is, as of 2.5 weeks ago, that the United States was putting it into an orbit, not actually in the orbit of Mars, but close enough that it would actually pass around it so that they could take pictures and see what was going on. They're very curious as to know what's going on, and they don't want us to know. Because if there's all kinds of activity there, and they're feeding the press the pictures, then it's out. And they want to try to maintain the control of the information. This is the only way they can stay in power at this point.
So then the Draconians are kind of in cohorts with the Greys in this Gizé intelligence.
In a sense, yes. They're definitely not. They are technologically very advanced, but from what I understand, they're not spiritually advanced.
They meaning
the Draconians.
Okay.
And what is occurring here is that because the Alfa Draconians were the very first to colonize Earth, they still have the attitude that it is theirs and everything on it is theirs. And they're coming here with that attitude.
Because you said that they live on the Earth 200 miles to 100 miles.
100 to 200 miles below their Hyperborean. But they have been coming out. And there have been reports all over the world, predominantly in the United States, where they are being seen, 7 to 8 foot reptilian lizard types, walking across the street. There have been many. We talked to some people yesterday after the lecture that said right here in Arizona, they have actually seen them. One was a captain and his wife in the Army. Were coming home from a base meeting or a party or something, and there it was, walking right across the street, in the desert. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, and these are credible people, that have no reason to make these things up. These are God-fearing, Christian, heavy Orthodox Jewish people that are seeing these, and this is not your normal reality, and yet they're there and they're talking about it because they're concerned.
So the Arturians are coming here because they're concerned that They are a concerned group of people.
The Andromedans are.
Excuse me. The Andromedans. A concerned group of people or a race, and they're concerned about the majority of the human race here on this planet.
Yes.
And that they are here to help, but they must have some kind of a law of non-interference or something, physical interference, because if they have the power, why don't they just stop it?
Okay, you're right on both counts. Of non-intervention, that was the decree that the council made. Essentially, what is occurring here is this. They're here because they feel a lineage, because there are many of us in past lives were Lyrans. Okay, we're from Lyra. Okay, human race.
Okay.
The Andromedans are very strong about the reality of reincarnation, and that being the evolution of the soul. That this is how we evolve. And that it is important for all of us to remember who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose, our real purpose is, and to try to move us back to our path to spiritual evolvement. They, as a race, are also committed to the spiritual evolvement of all life forms in the universe. They have just taken the role, the responsibility of that.
Through the council, like, in a sense, they were voted to...
This is our mission, and we will do everything we can to uphold that mission and make sure that we try to complete this.
Now, do the opposing forces know that this is happening?
Yes.
The Andromedans are involved in this?
I would have to believe that they do know. I'm convinced the Greys know. And I think on one level the Draconians know as well. I don't know, I don't know all of it. I don't know that I could handle all of it. But what I'm being told is that between now and somewhere between 95 and 96, the Draconians will be here.
In force?
In force. And they're planning on taking back the planet.
Now,
but they're going to reclaim it as theirs.
Okay.
So we are really caught here in kind of like a Star Wars. Sometimes they say truth is stranger than fiction. We are definitely in the middle of such a thing.
If that was the case, have the people that you're in contact with ever say that they would intervene?
Yes, and here's where that part comes in. Based on some of the things that they have said, it is my belief that the whole point is to try to evolve this whole solar system so that it can become part of the galactic family and not be so isolated, which is what it is. Their feeling is that they want to, that this just from things that they have said, that they want the Draconians to land. Because the ones that are coming are very warlike. And their hope is to maybe at that point quarantine this area so that when we make our shift, they will make it as well on some level. Okay? Now, one of the reasons they're here is this. Because the club, this group of ultra-secret groups within military governments, because they have now looked at the idea that they cannot leave the planets because of pollution and population, they're forced with the idea of now having to stay here on the Earth.
Why can't they leave?
Well, the only place to go now is the moon. Okay, this is one of the reasons why they were building the Mars colony. Because in the 50s, a group of scientists got together and they said, based on what the Earth is now with population, pollution, the fact that we're just goring all of our natural resources, that within the next 100 years we will self-destruct. So instead of trying to educate the people in changing everything, what this super elect group of people did was decided, well, we'll just go and create our own society, the way we believe it is, our utopia. And this is where the plan developed the alternatives. Alternative one, which was, well, we can take nuclear weapons and blow a hole in the atmosphere,
right,
letting all the pollution out. That, of course, wouldn't work. 2, build underground bases in cities. This did work. They have done this, but it's for an elect group of people. And 3, colonize. They've been successful.
Colonize
other worlds, and starting with the moon and then Mars. Well, now that they can't get to Mars, They don't have time to build anything anywhere or the technology to really get anywhere else in a hurry. So what they've decided to do is they came up with an alternative 4. Okay, now this is all coming directly from the Andromedans.
Okay.
And alternative 4 is that the biggest problem they have is pollution and population. So what they think they could do is to create a controlled polar shift by taking certain nuclear weapons, putting them under the South Polar ice cap, and detonating them. They believe that they can shift the ice pack on the South Pole, make it move, and create a controlled 180 pole shift of the planet. In 24 hours, they would virtually wipe out 80 to 85% of the population.
Yeah.
While they're sitting on the moon watching this. And then after it's done, they can come back down here and still be God.
You'd wipe out everybody that way. It would be.
Well, they think that they're calling it a controlled polar shift. This is what they think. And this is one of the reasons, this is another reason why the Andromedans are here, because we, as spiritual beings, are not being given the opportunity to exercise our free will, to make any decisions regarding this.
The Greys and the Draconians, are they a spiritual being also? Do they have a soul or a spirit?
Yes.
Then we are a very primitive race in comparison to a race that has the ability to gene splice and to clone and to do a lot of different things, such as the Greys have known to do. And the Draconians, I'm going to shorten it by using Dracos, is that all right?
Okay.
They seem to be a superior race in intelligence because they can get here from there in ships. We don't have that capability of doing that yet. Yet, how come the council didn't say, well, why don't we help these people spiritually, because they have the technology far greater than what we have prior to now? Do you ever ask that question? Do you see where I'm going?
I have, and it's been explained to me that it wasn't their responsibility. That was passed on to the Pleiadians were to initiate that.
Initiate to help the Greys?
No, they weren't to help the Greys. The Greys came here totally uninvited. They just flat violated the law of non-intervention. I don't know exactly why the Greys did that, other than the fact that here was an opportunity for them to come in here and totally control.
Yeah, I know, but what I was trying to find out, they're far superior in technology than we are, and if in having a soul, that is the reason why the species of extraterrestrials that you're talking about are coming here to save us, and yet we're not near as advanced as either the Greys or the Dracos, and yet the Council or the Federation didn't take the time out to try to save their races from destruction or change in spirituality so that they make that jump.
Okay.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
I sure do. I don't have that answer. I don't know what the interaction between the Andromedan Council and the Greys and the actual Draconians that are coming here has been. I don't know that.
Yeah,
answer.
because see, you made that point that I think that they were 40,000 years more advanced than us humans are at this
4,000.
time. Or 4,000. Well, they had 4,000 years to work on the Dracos and the Greys so that they could help make that jump.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, I don't know, it's interesting that then we should be, for whatever reason, very respectful because that another life form takes us in such a great regard to try to save us.
It's literally a gift. They have no karmic real ties or responsibilities here to help us. In fact, it's been explained to me that there are many on the Andromedan Council Their attitude is, well, why don't you just destroy the race and start all over?
Sure, that'd be the easy way to do it.
It would be the easiest.
And then if you believe in reincarnation, boom, we just do it again. That'd be a piece of cake.
But the Andromedans, their feeling is that they would like to turn things around, because they don't want to totally wipe out our entire unique history here. The Earth is very unique in the fact that we've had so many races coming here for so long. And we've had so many incredible civilizations here, you know, with Lemuria, Atlantis, that to just wipe it all out, that they just, for some reason, they have just decided that they are going to take the next 8 years to try to elevate all of our consciousness so that we can not only save the planet, but we can save ourselves.
Well, if they give us 10 years, we'd wipe ourselves out without any Dracos or without anybody. We would just...
I think that's why it's 8 years.
Yeah, that's a good thing. It's a good
thing.
Well, let's go, you were talking about something about world government. How does the world government play into this whole scenario?
Okay. Essentially, there are just those who want to control the money and want to be kings. But that's okay. Human nature.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, because we all have our little spots.
Right.
And we all like to have our spots, and we always would like to have somebody do something else for us. And that person that is doing things, has this group that you've been in contact with ever told you about the future events or what's going to happen possibly with catastrophes that other contactees have been talked about?
Yes, they have. They've talked about probable disasters. But let me just say that most of the things that will affect our daily life that they've talked about is that there will be a total collapse of the monetary system. So basically everybody will be getting back to basics, growing their own food, using bicycles, horses. There'll be very little electricity because nobody will be working. Nobody will do it for nothing. The governments or those in power will not be making any money. This is basically all by design. Animal husbandry, emergency first aid, many of these things, canning food, growing food, these are all going to be very important. It's like we're going to step back, in a sense, to living with the planet to the 1800s, where we truly learn to live off the land.
You know, there's a lot of people out here that won't be able to do that.
That's exactly right.
And not only that, but there's a lot of people out here that don't have the means to do that.
That's also right.
There's certain grounds that you can't. I can't grow potatoes in the desert, my soil. I can grow beans, but I can't grow potatoes. You can't grow anything in an apartment enough to eat off of a family. You can't, you know. So what's going to happen there?
Well, essentially, communities are going to have to get together, and everybody's going to have to help. Everybody's going to have to use their own expertise to create something. Small communities are going to have to do that. That's just the way it's going to be. And essentially, it's probably being created because it's forcing us to learn to live together again as a race. Instead of everybody doing their own thing and locking themselves up behind their gated houses, we're literally going to need to depend on each other to survive. And in a sense, that will totally unite humanity again, which is how it was supposed to be in the beginning.
Okay, now is this going to happen? You said the complete collapse of the monetary system. Is that monetary system just going to collapse in the States, or is it going to happen worldwide?
It's going to happen worldwide.
And is it going to happen like that?
Almost overnight. This is what they've shown me. It'll happen almost overnight.
Is there any way of protecting your any type of an asset? Could you say stock up on certain things, or
canned foods, gold, silver, precious metals? These are always things that have, regardless of earth changes, have always had some value. Maintain
their value.
Yes. Other than that, you know, maintain your friendships.
Okay, you know. But at this time, the Altarians aren't coming down here? I mean,
the Andromedans?
Andromedans, I'm sorry, the Andromedans.
I do not know when they're coming. I don't know when they're going to actually come down here.
You know, people that
I do not know.
People that are in power, though, people that are truly in power, the money brokers of the world, why would they allow this to happen?
I don't necessarily think that they really have a choice at this point. I really don't.
I mean, because they would lose their sense of power. They would become as each other.
Well, Ted,
if they survive.
There are two subtle energies. Or not so subtle. There's positive and then there's negative. Negativity is very controlling, and eventually it destroys itself. Okay, where love does not do that. It is very free and it allows energy to move. Essentially, what you have are those two forces condensing themselves like this at each other, with us directly in the middle. And it's going to come to the point where people are going to choose which way they want to go.
This doesn't have anything to do with Earth changes. You didn't mention Earth
in a sense, it does.
Well,
they have said that there is a very strong probability there'll be major earthquakes everywhere.
We were having them here yesterday.
Yes, but I mean where they're catastrophic, or huge tidal waves, land masses coming up out of the water, others sinking, that this will occur. There's not a lot of talk about a pole shift. They have said that this is not something that they really will allow to happen. The Andromedans know. They've also said that a lot of this hysteria about Earth changes and the dramatics of it is a lot of it being put out by the Greys, because they plan to put themselves in a position where they're going to present themselves as being the hope to help us.
The Greys?
The Greys themselves. Now, the Andromedans have also said that the Greys are fully capable tomorrow of totally staging the second coming. They can make a biological human being. They can holographically impress him with all the spiritual information in the world that there is. And he can come down in a large spaceship, get out, and everybody will think he is Jesus or Buddha or whomever. They have the full capabilities of doing this, and no one would be none the wiser. So they've also said that you will see the collapse of most of the religions as well. That basically what's going to happen is that everything that we know of our belief systems come some point very close to the 8th year, is all going to collapse, and all that's going to be left is what we think of ourselves, of who we know of ourselves.
You're not presenting a very good prospect for the human race here in the next 8 years.
Well,
what do we
the
need
beautiful
to do
thing here is that
to change it? What do we need to do?
we need to really look at our belief systems. We need to take control of our lives again and not keep passing it on to the government to fix this or to fix that, or to our neighbor to fix that, or our local communities. We need, literally, the people need to take control of it and say, look, this is not morally right. There is no integrity here in this. We need to change it.
You need to take personal responsibility for your actions.
That's right.
Instead of having somebody else give you. I'm so sick and tired of everybody waiting for FEMA or for
it doesn't have to
some
happen.
government agencies. When you go to a rural area out in Montana or Wyoming, if something happens, everybody pitches in and helps. We need to be a human race, and we need to come together and not look at colors and join together.
Right. They have said that once we get clear and over this hurdle, that the name of our race will be peace.
Well, there's something, what is it saying? Be a human being, not a human doing. And I think there's a real, there's something to that. We have to be able to understand that we all live here on this planet. We all have to survive it. There is no place we can leave to go. And yet we're for some reason so concerned about killing other people and taking over their land when it just doesn't make sense. But we've been doing it, the human race has been doing it for eons, and maybe that is the hope. Maybe the second coming the true second coming, whether it be needs to come to wake up a lot of these people, or the Andromedans need to come and show their face so that people will start to believe, because you know as well as I do that if a spaceship landed outside there and we took these video cameras and we went outside there and videographed everything that was coming out and the people that were coming out, 50% of the people wouldn't believe it. They think it was a Hollywood stunt or Ted Loman's doing something.
That's right.